let's bring into this conversation our CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, you were hard at work during the debate with this instant poll. What did you find?
Hot off the presses, or at least the printer in the back in the production.
Make noise with it.
South Carolina printer, pretty hot.
Come on, make noise with it. Make it sound
good. It's good. So what we did was we talked to an audience of debate watchers across the nation, and first thing we asked them was, who impressed you? And tell us everybody who impressed you. And it was Bernie Sanders on top by a little bit. He's at 45%, and then Joe Biden just back of him. And Elizabeth Warren, Ed's looking over here, so I'll share this, and it's so it's up on screen. Elizabeth Warren, and then Mayor Pete Buttigieg just back of them. So tightly bunched. Michael Bloomberg and Tom Steyer lower down there. That's a little bit reminiscent of the debate last time too. So order coming in seemed like it stays about even. The other thing though of note is that we asked people, okay, did the candidates spend more time drawing distinctions, or we said criticizing each other, or making the case for themselves? And look at that lopsided number, criticizing each other. And obviously for everybody who watched this, that was certainly a hallmark of the first part of this.
Yeah, and so just so people understand a little bit of the methodology, we don't have to go too into the weeds, but how many people did you talk to? And they're from all different parts of the country, yes?
All over the country, 1,500 people who took this. They knew it was coming. So they knew that we were going to ping them right after the debate, and so they watched it, and then they took the survey very quickly after it. It took them between 20-25 minutes afterwards, and we got the data back, and here it is.
And a margin of error of 3.2%, which is perfectly within line of a well-done and large and comprehensive survey.
Yeah, well, we had 10,000 interviews in our national survey, and then from that, we drew down from debate watchers and then onto this. The other thing I do want to share, though, is that we asked people, and these are Democrats watching, did the debate make the Democrats' ideas and platforms more clear? A majority said yes, 52%, more clear. Now, that part of that is drawing distinctions between each other, only 14% saying less clear, and a third saying no effect. So people did seem like they felt like they got some clarity out of this debate.
Well, that's because this debate is the most perhaps consequential to this day because of the constituencies that will be birthed from this debate. Right. And I think people are looking for this debate to bring some clarity because of what I call a campaign reset.
And I'll add this, in terms of what Democrats are looking for, right? We gave people a list that we put together during the debate of what was the most memorable moment of the night. And the thing that stood out was Amy Klobuchar saying that if the Democrats tear each other apart, that Donald Trump will win.
Interesting.
So there still is this desire out there among Democrats for some kind of unity.
Right.
Yeah.
But as we all know, people yearn for peace, but they watch war.
That's good, Major.
Wow, there's Antoineisms, there's Majorisms.
The philosophy of Major Garrett.
That's amazing.
That's in politics, ladies and gentlemen. It might be true in the rest of life, but it's certainly true in politics.
I feel enlightened.
What do the rest of these things tell us, though? I mean, when you look at these other moments, right? These are sort of to be expected based on the conversations and the discussions that have been taking place. This issue, Antoine, I'm curious about billionaires and the benefit that they have received under the current economic system. For people here in South Carolina, where I was looking at some of the polling data, and they talk about the importance of the economy and jobs. Those are such critical issues, as I know we've discussed many times. I mean, does that resonate?
Well, you have to understand there are people in South Carolina and places across the South who do not feel this great benefit, Major Garrett, that Donald Trump and the Republican Party talks about when it comes to this economy. Forget about trying to make ends meet. There are people putting two ends together, Anthony, hoping the ends will meet in places like South Carolina. And for states that follow South Carolina, that's true. And I think that is part of the reason we see this great big uprising of gravity and intensity and activation among activists to go to the polls and have representation for people who can understand and communicate their issues.
So Anthony was kind enough to hand the numbers.
Or rather, you just.
No, he handed them.
I'm teasing.
I've memorized them already.
Okay, got it.
And graphics, guys, if we have questions 6 and 7, this is kind of interesting. Yeah. Tonight, who made the best case they could defeat Donald Trump? 26% Bernie Sanders, 21% Joe Biden, but in third, 14% none of them.
Well,
and then, question 7. How did this debate make you feel about the group of Democratic candidates that you have to choose from? Check all that apply. 47% nervous, 42% optimistic, 25% inspired, 25% excited, pessimistic 16%, uninspired 13%.
Right.
But, I mean, that shows you that there's still some real concerns about this.
It is a mix. Some people got really nervous about this. Some people got optimistic, and it probably had a lot to do with
Ladies and gentlemen, I know something about this because before I was in television, I was also a print reporter.
Yes.
And one thing you learn about television is when the graphics department isn't ready, you just have to call them out and then just read them. All right? So what happens is when they don't have the they tell you all the graphics that are ready.
Hashtag BTS.
There you go.
Yeah, behind the scenes. So,
but good information, Ed. Real solid. Thanks, brother.
Still new with this. May not be as bad.
Yes.
Can I say one thing about this that has really blown apart a theory I had before this debate? The fact that people say Bernie Sanders is better suited to take on Donald Trump after this debate, when I said, and I still believe this in my heart, maybe Anthony's data may be wrong somewhere. I'm joking. I'm joking with Anthony. But the fact that Bernie Sanders is a progressive, the South tends to be more a centrist type place for voters. That really threw me off in your data.
Well, this isn't just South Carolina. This is likely Democratic primary votes across the country.
Again, across the country.
It's nationwide. We also asked if Bernie Sanders did a good job or bad job defending himself from the attacks that came his way, which were his past stances on socialist or communist countries, and a majority said he did a good job at that. So look, the big takeaway here is folks who came into this supporting Bernie Sanders saw enough to keep them in that camp. This probably doesn't shake these things up for him.
One last observation I'll make about this, because I see some similarities between what I observed in 2016, which is an outsider candidate who has a history of consistency, mobilizing a populist base within the party, and then a series of other people saying, no, 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 that person can't possibly lead the party. That is a diffuse message that divides those constituencies within the party that actually believe that, allowing the populist, consistent, either revolutionary in the phraseology of Bernie Sanders or rigged, tear it down phraseology of Donald Trump to say, I'm here, I'm certain, and I'm passionate. And by percentages, not by majority, but by significant plurality percentages, continuing to knock that field down and move toward the nomination. I'm not saying it's over by any stretch of the imagination, but I do see some modest parallels between what I observed in 2016 and what I'm beginning to see play out now.
Because there is a continuing argument, and it was in the Republican Party and it is now in the Democratic Party, over what it takes to be electable, which is a word we've all thrown around. And some people say it takes a moderate, it takes that centrist, and other people say, oh, no, there are no more centrists. And there aren't many more swing voters, and it takes passion, and it takes mobilization of the base, and a clear message. And that fight defines the candidate fight that you see.
Yes, electability very much, as I keep saying, in the eye of the beholder.